First fight of the night here at Hardrock MMA 93. We've got Luke DeYoung making his way to the cage right now, making his way down to Lexington from Cincinnati, representing Vision MMA. And you see Jeremy Pender, the veteran fighter, in his corner right there. And if you're a young guy like Luke DeYoung making your amateur debut, 19 years old, that's a great guy to have in your corner.
Certainly. Jeremy Pender, we saw him fight, what was it, at Hard Rock? When did Pender last fight?
We saw him beat Charlie Stanford.
That's right.
Last at Hard Rock MMA 91.
91 in Northern Kentucky.
That was a fight people have been waiting a long time to see. And I know some people are excited to see the debut here of Luke DeYoung, a high school rugby player. So you know he's definitely a tough guy.
175-pound bout. Kicking things off here at Heritage Hall in Lexington, Kentucky. Hard Rock MMA 93. First fight of the night. Should be an action-packed night of fights.
Anthony Roach representing Team Hurt and head coach Timothy Hurt. It's actually a correction officer out in Shelby County at Shelby County Detention Center, and said he heard one of his buddies was doing some cage fighting and thought that if I'm a correction officer, I'm a tough guy, that might be a good idea for me to go start trying to do some mixed martial arts training. Roach, 6 years the elder here, 25 years old against the 19-year-old Luke DeYoung. First fight of the night here, Luke DeYoung in the black with the red and the red glove tape. Anthony Roach in the black, also in black and red. He's got the blue glove tape, and our third man in the cage all night is going to be referee Rob Mooney. 175-pound catchweight bout here. Glove touch, you see definitely the reach advantage here for Luke DeYoung, as Roach, right in front of our broadcast position, shoots him for that single leg, almost gets it, but DeYoung pops right back up.
Roach seems determined to get this to the ground at any cost.
And you see DeYoung using that underhook there to be able to keep himself on his feet. Roach finally with that trip takedown. DeYoung doing a good job regaining his guard here on the bottom. Roach trying to make some space here. DeYoung doing a good job staying active on the bottom here early in this fight.
Very aggressive guard from DeYoung, maintaining the contact with the head and aggressively keeping Roach close to him.
But this is right where Roach is going to want to be, up against the cage. There's not really any more room for DeYoung to try to back out here. Still in the guard of DeYoung is Anthony Roach here, but on top. Not a ton of strikes here from the top, more positioning so far.
DeYoung's corner is calling for the triangle choke.
And knowing his corner, Jeremy Pender, that's a
he knows what he's
specialty
doing. Yes.
of Jeremy Pender as well.
Got to be careful. You got to keep that guard offensive, and he is going for the triangle. We'll see if that works.
He has that arm bar stuck in the guard too. You can see perfect position from our cameraman right there. You work in that high guard, and that's the advantage of being a much longer guy. 6'2" is Luke DeYoung here against a 5'10" Anthony Roach.
Once again, DeYoung is on the bottom. However, with his jiu-jitsu and his guard game, he's not at much of a disadvantage as you would assume.
Yeah, he seems pretty comfortable here off of his back. You know, Roach has been really aggressive, really heavy top game, but hasn't really scored a ton thus far in the first round. Referee telling him they've got to work here. Under a minute to go in the first round. Roach postures up, throws a couple of shots there. Roach's corner calling for the Ezekiel choke.
Which could work.
Really rare choke, though, to try to hit Nogi in mixed martial arts.
You do see it every once in a while, don't you?
Did see that in the UFC, I believe, a couple of months ago.
Wasn't that from the bottom?
Yeah. 10-second clap there. Both fighters try to explode to the bell.
Difficult round to judge. Roach was on top the entire time. You got to think the judges will err on the side of the guy on top.
Yeah, you know, there wasn't a ton of damage really done by either guy, so I think that almost by default the judges are likely to give that round to Anthony Roach, who was on top there.
Once again, DeYoung cornered by Jeremy Pender.
Want to remind you, if you're watching, tweet us with using hashtag HRMMA93 to join the conversation here tonight. You might see yourself on screen. See a great shot there of Jeremy Pender in the corner of his young fighter, Luke DeYoung. I always think it's interesting in between rounds, the game plan of the fighters. You see DeYoung staying on his feet, whereas Roach elects to take the stool. I know a lot of guys want to, say that the blood can start to clot and things like that once you sit down. And a lot of times once you sit down, it's hard to get back up.
Sure.
I think that's for most times when you're tired, not just in a fight. But I think a lot of times too, it's partially a mental game as well.
Difficult to relate to the amount of energy exerted in one of these rounds for the average person who either is not trained at all or maybe even done a little bit of jiu-jitsu or something like that. If you go a full round with one of these guys, that's an entirely different ballgame.
And a lot of it, especially for young guys, in your first fight, a lot of it really is, instead of the energy, it's just the adrenaline dump they always talk about. You see Roach again.
Once again going for the takedown.
Yeah, ducks right under that straight right hand, ends up on top again here. You see him trying to throw this
DeYoung was going for the omoplata. Is resorting to an open guard for DeYoung. Once again on the bottom, as we saw throughout the entire first round.
Roach, even though the guard here of DeYoung seems to be open, really doesn't seem to be working
on posturing up and breaking it.
And also trying to pass.
No, exactly.
That might be the respect that he learned from the jiu-jitsu game of Luke DeYoung in the first round.
Well, if we said Roach won the first round, then why change his strategy now? His goal is to win this fight, and if Roach is on the top, and that means he's going to win.
You hear Jeremy Pender telling him, Luke DeYoung, to grab his shin. He has a good position here for a triangle as Roach trying to turn his way out here. That's just a really strong wrestler power pass.
Looks like he is getting closer to, well, that's low now.
He needs to pull that left shin
up behind his knee.
And Roach, you see the posture broken there.
Roach has not attempted to posture up and break this at all. It looks like the triangle
really
may be sunk in.
Yeah, it looks like, and Roach does tap.
It is. Very impressive showing of jiu-jitsu from
nice
Luke
also
DeYoung.
Use of patience there as well.
Sure.
You saw the two takedowns early in both rounds, but Luke DeYoung trusting in his jiu-jitsu there and able to pull off the triangle. And again, that's the advantage of you having those long limbs. Makes it a lot easier to lock in that triangle choke.
Very impressive debut for Luke DeYoung at a Vision.
19 years old, and that gym just continues to produce top-level talent. Of course, Dominique Steele, UFC veteran.
Just had a win over Portland Pringle, I believe. Very impressive debut for Luke DeYoung.
19 years old. We'll definitely see him back here inside the Hard Rock MMA cage sooner rather than later.
I look forward to it.